Questions?
Well, it's an exciting day. This morning we celebrated my daughter turning 8, so this was double duty here. But this is a day that all coaches are really looking forward to, because you work your tail end off to put together a great class, because it's the lifeblood of any program, obviously. And when we feel like we did that, and we come in and instituted a recruiting model, and you know, we've stuck to it, and I feel very good you know, about that. The first thing we try and do is start local. We got the Offensive Player of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year locally, which is really good. And then we're going to head north. You know, we're going to jump on 55, able to get a couple committed on our way up St. Louis, and then done a good job in St. Louis. We continue to do well there. And then down south to Memphis, and everywhere in between, we're able to get free out of Memphis. And from there, we look at difference makers, and you know, we got to cast a big enough net. We can't just say, hey, we're only going to take players from this or that. You got to cast a big enough net that you can get some difference makers in there, and we feel really good about where we're at. 12 of the 16 high school kids we signed, we've physically seen in camp. And anytime you can validate a recruit like that, you know, a lot less chance of a bust. You know, I'm not going to buy a house on YouTube. All right, I'm not going to buy a car on Huddle. So I want to see and see those kids, see what that work ethic's like, and all those things. We're able to do that, and just looking forward to getting them here and getting things going. So I'll go ahead and open it up for questions.
Coach, could we talk about the local guys? I know there was one out of Kennett, and of course Hilburn, and then Dante Vanderden. Can we start with Dante? About, you know, it just seems like there's a lot of good things that could be happening with this guy. Could you talk about some of those?
Well, first and foremost, he has got it. If you haven't met him, he's just a guy that is extremely talented, and he makes those around him better. He's got a lot of presence about him, and when he came to camp, really liked him. We ended camp with a one-on-one, really a lot of competition, where we put some heat on him, and the guy's just a cool cucumber. I mean, the guy stands there and delivers the ball, and just really excited about him. Bud Hilburn's a guy that is down at Kennett. Kennett's a special place. They love their athletics there. They love their football. They got some very good coaches down there, and they called us about Bud, and we watched the film, and got him up for a football game, and he's a guy that we're really excited about. I mean, anytime you can sign the Defensive Player of the Year in your area, that's really what it's about.
You talked about getting bigger. We want to get bigger and get those kind of physical big guys up front. Do you feel like you accomplished that?
Yeah, we did. You know, we on offense, the line, we didn't have a kid over 6'5", and we signed 3 of them this year. And just the fact that you got to have the frame so you could put that 300 pounds on there and still be quick. You know, if you're 6'2" and you're in the 300s, you know what that looks like compared to 6'5". We didn't have any, and we were able to get 3 this year, so that tells me a lot. You know, and all 3 were in a padded camp. We have padded camps. You know, a lot of kids come and wear a bunch of lingerie and run a 40. Well, that's not what 40 is. I mean, that's not what football is. It's not a cross-country race like you. There's a physicalness to it, and that's why we have padded camps. All 3 of those offensive linemen was in our camp, and that's why I feel really good about it. Ryan Trevelyan is our defensive lineman. We got out of Kansas City. He's the same way. You know, he's 6'5", 245, and he's going to be a big individual. We got to develop him. You know, but he's a guy that has a 27 on the ACT. The only thing I'm worried about is he's too smart to coach.
How much, when you say those padded camps, how physical can they get?
Well, it's not live, but if you're a lineman, it's just like a game. Like, we're hitting and collisioning. We want to see. We do one-on-ones versus each other, and it gets pretty good.
Go back to Dante. You know, you said he's got it. What else does he need to have? What else is he going to have to focus on going in here?
Well, he's just got to, you know, get his weight up a little bit, physically just mature and get bigger. He's got to learn the offense, he's got to stay healthy, he's got to earn the respect of his teammates just like the rest of his class.
You see him as definitely being a quarterback?
Yep.
We mentioned this process you want to go through in your recruiting, and starting early, it seemed like was a theme. We've been talking to recruits all day, or people you've signed all day, and that seemed to be a recurring theme that you guys maybe got to people first or really early on in the process. So can you take me back to when this actually, recruiting this class started for you, and maybe when you made your first offers?
Well, recruiting is still one thing you can't outwork some people at. You can't outwork college coaches on the football end, but you know, recruiting, you can do that. And our staff did an amazing job. You know, right after we signed our first class, you get here in January, you hire staff, put a class together. That's hard to do. But right after that is when the evaluation process started. We got out on the road in the spring, which is March and April, a little bit into May. June is a big month for us. And when I was at Division I, it's more April, May. But June, you have a good idea who Mizzou has not offered, and if you don't have a Mizzou offer by June, you ain't getting one. And so kids start listening a little more to us, and we want to be right there early on. Recruiting's relationships, and what when they come on campus, you tell them, hey, you know, Shiny State's never won anybody out of a championship. Like, people win championships. We have championship people here. You won't even remember the room you're in, but you'll remember your football coach for the rest of your life, because he's going to directly be responsible for your quality of life. And that's what I try to get the kids to understand, is it's not about the shine or the flash, it's about the people. And I think kids listen.
So when you're building relationships, I think that's probably a little bit particular to each kid, but it's also probably a little bit of something you've learned over time of how to do that. I know one today mentioned meeting different coaches even before they came here. Is that something you always try to do? Is that just...
Yeah, you try to get as many people in front of them. Everybody recruits the kid. The great ones recruit the people around the kid. Because he's going to be talking to people, so you got to recruit his circle, and then you got to get different people in there, and then we talk about who is really connected with that kid. Because just kids are different. You know, they may respond to this coach different than that coach, so you try to get multiple coaches around them, and then that way if something happens and you end up losing a coach, you don't lose the kid also.
Okay. Do you remember when the first commit started coming in?
June.
June.
Yep.
Coach, you had some really big wins over some ranked teams. Did you find that the student athletes out there, especially with all the social media, were aware of your program and the jumps you made? Yeah,
I think they loved what they were hearing, but that gave teeth to the talk. As far as, hey, they are doing this, this is an exciting time here. And so it just gave you a little more validity, or more valid when you come into the home and talk about what we're doing and how we're going to do it. Now you have proof.
What did you feel like was the biggest area of need to fill with this class?
Well, you know, unfortunately, we had to get some guys who play right away. You know, I didn't get a 7-year contract. I got 3 years left on this thing, and we got to win. And all of our secondary is depleted. I mean, when that class went out, they had a lot of empty classes. We signed more junior colleges than players than I normally will. I'm a junior college product, so I always recruit some of those kids, but we had to fill in some of these empty classes that we've had to just get more depth.
Was there... Go ahead.
Both of your starting offensive tackles are graduated. Do you think a guy like Drew Forbes could potentially fill that spot, one of those spots this year?
You know, Drew Forbes came in, and you know, I saw him in camp. I went and watched a football game live, and he scores about 15 points a game on a basketball court. You know, physically he can, you know, but there's a big jump going from high school to college. You know, so just see how he handles that jump and learns the playbook and stays healthy. But we didn't give him a full scholarship to not play.
All right, and what other signings do you think you could see playing time like Hunter Bledsoe did last year?
I mean, there's no way. If I knew that, buddy, and I could read minds, I'd start with my wife's. I have no idea.
see, obviously one of your transfers as a quarterback, let's talk about Tate Bender, played for a national championship this year. When did you notice him, like him? Obviously he has kind of a long history behind him, original case.
Well, we knew about him in June. We didn't think we could touch him.
Okay.
In our off week, before we played Tennessee Tech, you know, his offers weren't stuff I didn't feel like we could compete with, and that's when it really started at that point. Matt Martin went to visit him, then I flew up there to visit with him and his family, and we know a lot about him. I'm very fortunate that he's on our team.
So you went up in the middle of the season. When did you go up to meet him?
In our off week, and
Okay.
then at the end of the season I went up.
Okay. At the end of the season. So what can you tell, and what do you see from him? What can you describe him as a football player for us?
He is, you know, very athletic. He's a 4'5" kid. He's you know, 6'4", you know, 208, 210. So just physically, he's you know, BCS type kid. He's got a good arm, and you know, it's just you always just got to be able to transition, you know, into this school, get the trust of his teammates, learn the offense, stay healthy, and compete.
So you didn't think you could touch him. What do you think ultimately led you to be able to then? Just, I mean, is there something, you know, that what might other people might not have, or?
It's just one of those things where I don't know what they're looking at. I don't really care. At that point, I knew we had a shot, and so, you know, you don't want to waste time, you know, but at that point I knew we had a shot in the game. We brought 2 on that first weekend in December, him and another kid, and went on him.
So was getting a JUCO quarterback a priority?
It was JUCO or a 4-year transfer.
Okay.
We just wanted a little more competition there. You know, Alex Nisnak will rep with the ones, and we feel good about him, but competition brings out the best in everyone, and I owe it to the fans and the community to bring as much talent as I can to that room, and so we can get the best from everyone in the room.
He'll be he'll be a junior coming in.
Yeah, he'll have 2 years.
2 years of eligibility still left, so, yeah.
Anything else?
You already talked about some methods. Could you mention some more that you feel separate you from other coaches in the recruiting process?
Well, I was a recruiting coordinator at Southern Illinois, and so we have a true model. I don't think people realize how important that is. How can you find something you don't know what it is you're looking for? So every position, we have 2 to 3 questions you ask, and if those don't get answered right, you don't ask a 4th. And so I think our ability to really know what it is we're looking for allows our assistants to not waste time, to be able to sift through it so we know exactly who we want to go after right away. I think that's different. We don't make exceptions. This is our model. This is what we do, because anytime you make an exception, then you have a whole team full of exceptions. And then, you know, same thing at DB. We want some length there. When you look at the kids we'll sign, they'll always have length. And I think that is what separates us. I think when I talk to the recruits, they talk about how well Cape Girardeau shows. I think when they get here, of course, we have the cars and the cookie cakes, and you have all the stuff where you want these kids to feel special, but at the end of the day, they fell in love with our team, and we got some amazing teammates that make them feel at home right away. And I think that really helps on the visit.
All right, could you talk to me about the difference between this year's recruiting process and last year, since you you had such a short time last year?
I mean, last year it was basically you're just trying to put a class together, so didn't know a whole bunch about a lot of guys, but we got started in our recruiting model. You know, we took guys from the area we're going to come back and take more guys from, and got that started. But this way, this class, you just know a lot more, and we probably and we beat people. 2 of our 2 kids that had been committed lost. We lost to 1A. You know, and so when you do that, you lose a kid to Arkansas State and you lose a kid to Ball State. That's a good sign.